Hello, this is Catherine Kim, and my presentation is on the urbanization of China. So looking at the dictionary definition of urbanization, Merriam-Webster defines it as the process by which towns and cities are formed and become larger as more and more people begin living and working in central areas. So looking at China, what I wanted to do is look at the history of when that turning point of when civilization in the rural areas migrated to more of, away from the agriculture into more of the city type environment. So looking at the Communist Party, Mao Zedong, from 1934 to 1976, he was the leader of the Communist Party of China, and through a series of political campaigns, he attempted to bring the country back into a stronger economical position. China was very much agricultural, and unfortunately, such campaigns as Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, it really actually put China into steps backwards. And this series of political strategies actually moved the people into deeper poverty. And there was chaos and violence that had erupted through different inter-country revolutions and just people suffering from the unfortunate decline of their economy. So these are some of the photos. The one on the left is actually represents the Great Leap Forward, where they were trying to take a very stronghold position in steel production, and unfortunately the steel that they were producing was not even of quality to be in use. Now the Cultural Revolution was almost it was just a shock to the people as he went headhunting for those that had capitalist ideals and anyone that was intellectual and philosophers and people who had their own way of thinking. And he went and took those people out of those areas and really did a lot of violence onto the people of China. When Mao had passed away, his successor was Deng Xiaoping, and he took over as leader of the Communist Party of China from 1977 to 1992. He was a very calculated thinker. He had the idea of reform in his mind, and he knew that he needed to urbanize the Chinese economy and bring them out of poverty through a series of very gradual steps. And that's why I state that he was calculated. He understood that the majority of Communist Party of China, the older thinkers, more to the right, were very strong on their idealism of total control. So he knew in order to implement his idea of bringing China into more of a socialist market economy and away from the command market, he would need to do it in baby steps and different sections and zones of the country in order to bring them more into the urbanized environment. So some of the photos from when Deng was leading China, so you can see some of the images in the city as it's developing. The photo on the right, I found this, and it shows the city in the back of where it's becoming urban, yet the farm and the rural that's around it. So through his campaigns, he was able to bring people more into the industrialization and into the city. And as the country developed and as the rural population slowly migrated and towns became more modernized. So some of the statistics that I found looking at Business Insider, I went ahead and highlighted Deng Xiaoping's time period of 1997 to approximately 1992 on that graph. And you can see before that was Mao, and it really hit a plateau of Chinese urbanization rate. And you see when Deng went into power, the campaigns and the political movement he put in, now they didn't want to call it privatization of the markets, but more of the reform, so that is how they marketed that terminology in order to change into more being able to produce from the factories and the manufacturers what the government required, yet whatever was manufactured in excess, they were able to sell at market value. And that really prompted, such a big surge in people in their community coming together to make money and to live a better life, and therefore urbanize their homestead. So you can see it slowly began to rise due to his efforts. Now, the graph on the right is from Huffington Post, and it also kind of gives a glimpse into what they anticipate for the future years. So you can see the years from 1500 to 2050. It's a very long time period. But you can see that there is a sharp rise in the urban population, and as the rural population is declining. So they anticipate in 2047 to be such a big discrepancy between the rural versus the urban. Another thing that I have found through my research was this infographic of China's urbanization. What I found very interesting was that this graph shows that approximately 70% they imagine by 2025 to be urban. And China, with such a large population, when Mao was in power, through his years, the population was still steadily growing. So as the economy was turning bad, the people were living poorly. Well, Deng, once he went into power to reform towards a socialist market, you see with the one-child policy and other items that he had put into place, that people were able to afford more, to live a better life, and to be able to, work not only for government and not only for the purpose of the goals of China, communist China, but also for themselves personally. So Deng, this is a quote I read in the chapter 4 of our reading, and I had highlighted it because I felt this really showcased the urbanization and what his vision was. Development is the only hard truth. It doesn't matter if policies are labeled socialist or capitalist, so as long as they foster development. And we can see from this transgression of the turning point from Mao to Deng and the policies that were implemented, the strong urbanization that continues to work inside China. These are some of my resources that I use for this short presentation. I thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.